Hi, my name is Jake. I'm 28 years old, and I work as a graphic designer at a small firm. I live alone in a small apartment in the city, and I guess you could say my life is pretty simple. I've always been focused on my career, trying to make a name for myself. I don't have many close friends, but there's one person I've always been able to rely on, Emily. Emily is someone I met at a coffee shop a few months ago. She was friendly, funny, and easy to talk to. We quickly became friends, meeting up for coffee whenever we could. We'd chat about work, life, and sometimes, even our dreams for the future. Emily had this warmth about her that made you feel comfortable instantly. At first, I didn't know much about her life beyond what she shared with me. We kept things light. But everything changed one afternoon when she told me something that completely shocked me. It was a Friday, and Emily invited me over to her place. She had recently moved into a new apartment, and I thought it would be nice to see it. As I entered her apartment, I noticed how cozy and neatly arranged everything was. There were toys scattered around, and I could hear someone laughing in the other room. I was surprised because I didn't expect Emily to have kids. "Hey, Jake. Come in, make yourself at home," Emily called out from the kitchen. I walked in and saw a little boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old, playing with blocks on the floor. I smiled, but then I realized something. There were no other adults around. I looked around the room, trying to understand. Emily noticed me looking and laughed softly. "You're probably wondering who the little one is, right?" she asked, sitting down next to the boy. "Yeah, I didn't know you had a son," I said, still trying to process the situation. She smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. "I haven't really talked about him much. His name's Noah." Noah looked up at me with big brown eyes, and I waved at him. He smiled shyly and went back to his blocks. I thought it was sweet. But then Emily's next words hit me like a wave. "Jake," she said, her voice more serious now, "I'm a single mom. I raised him on my own." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, I didn't know how to respond. I felt a wave of confusion and disbelief wash over me. How could I have missed this? She never mentioned her son's father. She never mentioned being a single mom. I just assumed she was living the same kind of carefree life I was, single, free, with no responsibilities. But now, everything seemed different. "Wow, I had no idea," I said, though my mind was racing. "How long have you been, doing this alone?" Emily seemed to sense my discomfort, but she didn't seem upset. She took a deep breath and began explaining. "I was with Noah's father for a while, but things didn't work out. It wasn't easy, but I've managed. I've always wanted to keep him away from the drama, you know," Emily said, glancing at Noah, who was still playing quietly. I nodded, not knowing exactly what to say. My mind was full of questions. How had she managed everything on her own? Why hadn't she ever mentioned this before? But I didn't want to pry. I just smiled and tried to change the subject. "He's a great kid," I said, hoping to sound supportive. "Thanks," Emily replied, her voice softening. "It's been tough, but I'm used to it. He's my world." Over the next few weeks, I spent more time with Emily and Noah. I began to see how much of a challenge being a single mom was for Emily. She juggled her job, taking care of Noah, and handling all the responsibilities on her own. I admired her strength, but there was also something about her that seemed distant. She often avoided talking about her past or her struggles. One evening, we were sitting on the couch, watching a movie, when Noah suddenly came up to us, looking upset. "Mom, can I have some juice?" he asked, his voice shaky. Emily turned to him with a smile. "Of course, sweetheart. I'll get it for you in a minute." But as she stood up, I noticed something. She paused for a brief moment, staring at Noah with a sad look in her eyes. It was a look I hadn't seen before. She quickly masked it with a smile and left the room. I sat there for a moment, wondering what had just happened. Was she hiding something? Was there more to her story than she had shared? I couldn't help but feel that there was something Emily wasn't telling me. Later that evening, when Emily returned, I decided to bring it up. "Emily," I began, my voice gentle, "is everything okay? You seemed a little sad when Noah asked for juice." She froze for a moment, her eyes flickering with hesitation. Then, she sat down beside me, looking at her hands. "It's just," she started, pausing as if weighing her words carefully. "It's hard sometimes. There are days when I feel like I'm failing Noah. I don't want him to feel like he's missing anything, but there are times when I feel so alone in this." Her voice broke a little, and I felt a lump form in my throat. She was carrying so much weight, and I had no idea. Before I could respond, she quickly wiped away a tear and stood up. "I'm sorry, I don't want to bring you down. Let's just forget about it." But I couldn't forget about it. Something inside me stirred. Emily was more than just a friend to me. I realized that I wanted to be there for her, to help her, but I wasn't sure how. The next few days were tough. Emily continued to hide her struggles behind her smile, but I could see it in her eyes. I started to feel more and more connected to her, and I realized how much I cared for her. But there was a fear that gnawed at me. What if I wasn't enough to help her? What if I couldn't be the support she needed? One night, after Noah had gone to bed, Emily and I sat in her living room, the air thick with unsaid words. She finally broke the silence. "You've been so kind to me, Jake," Emily said quietly, not meeting my gaze. "But I don't want you to feel like you have to take care of me. I don't want you to feel sorry for me." I reached out and gently lifted her chin, so she would look at me. "Emily, I'm not feeling sorry for you. I just want to be there for you. You don't have to do everything alone." Her eyes filled with tears. "But I do, Jake. I always have. It's hard to let anyone in when you're used to doing everything by yourself." "I get that," I said softly. "But I'm here for you. You don't have to hide your pain from me." For the first time, Emily let herself lean into me, and I wrapped my arms around her. It was a moment of vulnerability, of raw emotion, and for the first time, I felt like I truly understood her. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Emily allowed me to get closer to her and Noah, and I became more involved in their lives. But it wasn't easy. Emily's life as a single mom wasn't something I had ever truly understood before. The constant balancing act between work and motherhood took its toll on her, and I saw how it affected her mental and emotional state. One evening, I walked in to find Emily crying while Noah was in bed. She had been working late and had forgotten to pick up groceries, so they had nothing for dinner. It seemed like such a small thing, but for her, it was the tipping point. I sat with her for hours that night, just listening to her frustrations and fears. "Jake, I feel like I'm always failing him. I don't know how to do this anymore," she said through her tears. "You're doing the best you can, Emily. That's all anyone can ask for," I reassured her. But in that moment, I realized just how much Emily had sacrificed. The weight of her responsibilities was far greater than anything I could have imagined. We never really got to a perfect ending. Emily and I grew closer, but the realities of life still lingered. She continued to raise Noah with love, and I continued to offer whatever support I could, but the future was uncertain. Would I be able to step into a bigger role in her life? Would I be enough for both her and Noah? The truth is, I didn't have all the answers. But I knew one thing: I was ready to walk through this journey with her, one step at a time. What do you think? Do you believe someone can truly understand what a single parent goes through until they experience it firsthand? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Thanks for listening.